No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve Postgame Show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
Awesome.
Oh, Dave's already flustered. Something's wrong with Dave's microphone. We could hear you. You weren't on mute. We could hear you saying awesome and flustered and things of that nature. You must be, who's more
usually me,
right
boys,
now?
that's having trouble with my microphone. But Dave M's having some trouble with his cords.
I don't know.
I had no idea Dave M played for the Boston Bruins based on that level of frustration we just saw. Everything good, Dave? You need a couple extra minutes? You got things in order now. You're good, but you're not using your mic, though. You're using the wrong mic. It's not hooked up properly. We'll let you get that taken care of. Make sure you got the right mic set up. Dave M really dragging this operation down. We say good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. And for all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show with Dave Manouk, the flustered Dave Manouk, with Ezra Ginsburg, the pinnacle of professionalism. I'm your host, Drew Mandel, here to discuss an absolute beatdown by the Winnipeg Jets of the Boston Bruins. We talked about it this afternoon when we were live at City Place for the special edition of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. We at the noon hour edition, and what great fun we had there. We talked about how the Jets hadn't had a complete game, a complete dominant effort since the game against the Pittsburgh Penguins a couple weeks ago. Well, we can reset that clock because this was a dominant effort for the Winnipeg Jets. And as we talked about this afternoon, and as our buddy Dan Robertson referenced during the broadcast, the second straight year that the Boston Bruins have come to Winnipeg in December and have been absolutely humiliated on the Jets' home ice. And that's what happened tonight. An 8-1 victory for the Winnipeg Jets, absolutely taking the Boston Bruins to the woodshed. And that goals against differential that had been -12, well, all of a sudden that's now -19 after tonight's result. The Winnipeg Jets doing an absolute number on the Boston Bruins. Ezzy, because you are so professional, we'll start with you tonight.
Yeah, and I even moved myself to the bottom. People were noticing that I was in the top right corner promoted, but that's not true. I'm going to go back to the bottom. I let Dave and Drew handle the top of the screen. I've always enjoyed the bottom in various forms. So I know T-Cone Pauly wants to get into it did get very dark in here, and it's actually very bright in my St. James basement, but I know T-Cone Pauly wants to get into the cheap shots, and we will get into those cheap shots. But boys, we have to just start off with looking at this game as a whole. And boy, oh boy, was this an exciting game. And did the Jets need a game like this? I think they really did. And, Drew mentioned the game that kicked off the 6-game road trip against Pittsburgh. But really, I think this was the most dominant game since the game at home against Florida when the Jets won 6-3. If you remember, well, of course, people remember, but it was, 3 weeks ago at this point, or 4 weeks ago, after losing 5-0 to the Panthers in South Florida. They came out with a pretty dominant performance. Maybe not as dominant as tonight, boys, because, guys, let's not forget, it was 3-1 after 2 periods, right? Mm-hmm. It's not like the Jets scored like an equal amount of goals. Like, they really exploded here for 5 goals in the third period. And you love to see the first power play going out there with the team already up 5-1. You love that the Jets kept the foot on the gas, and you love that Mark Scheifele had that type of performance, knowing that Don Sweeney was watching every single one of those 8 goals go in. Obviously, Scheifele didn't have a part in every single one of the 8 goals, but he certainly had a part on most of the goals early in the game. And, you love that. And it was just a performance that you love to see 5-on-5, because obviously, the Jets scored the 3 power play goals, but they dominated at 5-on-5 in that third period when it mattered most. And obviously, Hellebuyck didn't have the busiest night, but he made some key saves earlier in the game. Remember the save that he made on Zadorov? That was right before Kyle Connor scored to make it 3-1. So just an overall a great performance by the Jets. We obviously saw 3 fights. Like, this game really had it all. Not a lot for the Bruins fans to cheer about in this game, that's for sure.
No, you certainly not a lot for Bruins fans to like. The Jets, this was just sort of cathartic for them, Dave. I think you could tell, especially that third period. They play a pretty decent first 40 minutes. They got the 3-1 lead, which I would describe as a well-earned 3-1 lead. But then that third period starts, and the release, I think, all the pressure of the long road trip, the ridiculous amounts of travel that they've had. I think you saw it just finally sort of boil over and be done with. It's no longer going to be something that needs to be talked about because their schedule becomes so much more reasonable moving forward, especially going to be home heavy this week, home heavy in January. So I just thought that the Jets just finally were able to get rid of the road trip, to get rid of the struggles as of recently. Not to say that they can't come back again, of course, but that third period was the Winnipeg Jets just saying, "Nuh-uh, we're better than you are. We're going to go and remind everybody in the league, everybody who's been poo-pooing us as of late."
Including Drew Mandel.
Yeah, sure. If they did it to show me up, then, they need better things to do than show me up, But
they heard you've been talking, Drew.
Yeah. But, at least they went out there, I think they reminded everybody around the NHL, look, we have 21 wins on the year. You can call us whatever you like, but we now have 2 more wins than any other team in this league. And I think that's what you saw in this third period.
Absolutely. I mean, it is funny how almost a year ago today, they beat those Bruins 5-1, and now
remind everybody where you were when that happened a year ago.
Thank you for bringing that up. Flying over the Pacific.
Dave M just casually
must be nice.
Yeah,
must be nice, Dave M.
Oh yeah. The irony, of course,
the Nuke private jet, the air mile. Ezzy, you and I collect air miles the traditional way. Manuke on the private jet collects air miles the fancy way.
I drive my Nissan Sentra to Grand Forks. Dave M flies over the Pacific in his private jet.
Of course, the irony is that Drew's like flying off to Kentucky like every second weekend, but sure, Mandel, you never travel. Anyways. This is the important thing is, other than my means of travel across oceans, is the fact that this is an absolutely necessary win. This is a win to, again, it's not going to just suddenly everything is just fixed, but it quiets things down, Drew. It allows the Jets to kind of have that relief a little bit. They knew they were a good team, and they knew that they had some things to work on. But to me, this is a Bruins team that, I understand that they weren't playing up to their standard, but they'd won 4 games in a row. They were 7-3-0 in their last 10. 7-2, or I thought it was 7-3.
7-2 under Joe Sacco.
Right.
7-2 boys under Joe Sacco. Sorry, Dave, and then we'll go back to you, obviously. But 7-2 and also playing very well defensively. Obviously, not tonight.
No, not tonight at all. And from a Jets team that didn't take, even at 3-1, they didn't sit back. And Connor Hellebuck didn't need to be great in tonight's game. Mm-hmm. And you just like the fact that the Jets have been a good third period team. I mean, obviously before their little skid, but I just think that something like this, a win like this, could just restore everyone and get them back to feeling good about themselves. You got a really good game coming up against the Vegas team that you have a rivalry with, as Ezzy mentioned on this afternoon show. And like I said, this is a Jets team that is now feeling good. Everybody had a piece of that, regardless of whether you got a goal on the score sheet. Nikita Chiibrikov, he only scores in games he plays in, Ezzy, 2 goals in 2 games. So he's feeling good about himself.
What a shot.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, but look, Mason Appleton scores. Vlad Domestikov, you've got everyone having, and obviously the top line contributed in a big fashion. So whether Mark Scheifele was given a middle finger to those who passed him over for Team Canada, and we know that obviously Don Sweeney is involved in that with the Bruins, but I just think that it was a type of win that look, it's similar to the loss against Columbus, where we said everyone kind of had a piece in that loss. In this one, David Gustafsson gets into a fight. Logan Stanley gets into a fight. Adam Lowry gets into a fight. Scott Arniel almost got into a fight. I mean, it was like I'm watching, the third period, and I almost
pretty sure Kevin Sawyer almost got into a fight between the benches. Also,
Kevin Sawyer sounded like he did the old backup, but the point is that it was look, that's what you want to see. You want to see a coach that defends his players, and he's not happy about what he's seeing out there, right? He doesn't want to see that sort of mismatch. So anyways, and I'm sure we'll hear someone from our brethren in the Matt Frost Media Center when we go to Scott Arniel soon will have some comments from the head coach in terms of what happened there on the bench, and him and Joe Sacco. Joe Sacco was like, "Me? What are you talking about, me?" But look, like to see that the coach is as involved as his players in getting heated and being passionate and showing some fire there, as he.
Well, yeah. As soon as we have, Scott Arniel in the Matt Frost Media Center, we will, of course, bring him to you live here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. Producer, videographer, photographer, Colby Spence has the camera all set up. We can see it backstage. So as soon as we see the Jets head coach head to the podium, we will bring him to you live here on the program. Just want to make sure everyone's prepared for that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, obviously, Scott Arniel is going to be asked about it. It's going to be really interesting to see, like Dave said, what he says, because obviously, guys, they're not Scott Arniel and Joe Sacco weren't exchanging holiday food recipes, right?
No holiday cards from between the two of them. Speaking of holiday cards, though, we do have to say thank you, of course, to Dancing Gabe, who dropped off our holiday cards to the three of us today when we were down at City Place. So always love getting that holiday card from Dancing Gabe, and it was great to see him this afternoon. So I just wanted to make mention of that real quick.
No, for sure. You're right, Drew. We didn't mention that on the pregame show this afternoon at City Place. And, for those who don't know this, I mean, we obviously know this. When we were on TSN 1290 radio, Dancing Gabe always used to drop us off a holiday card, but it was nice. Yeah. He knew that we were at City Place, so we dropped them off at City Place. Always a nice thing. That's like a tradition going on 10 plus years now at this point. But yeah, guys, what a amazing performance by the Jets. And, obviously, we'll go into the goals and everything like that. But I mean, this had some bite to it. I think Scott Arniel's coming up right away, right?
Yeah, he'll be coming up here momentarily. But the fight that the Jets showed tonight, the bully. I mean, the Jets, the Bruins are used to being a bully. They're used to being a team that would go in there and beat up other teams. The Jets tonight bullied the traditional bully, which I think says a lot about the Winnipeg Jets and their attitude and their the way they go about their business. Here's Jets head coach Scott Arniel coming up right on the podium right now.
Scott, I think for half the story, it's finding your game, and then the other half seems to be when that game sort of the temperature went up there. What did you see that led to that?
I thought we played a hell of a game. I talked about this morning that we need to get better at attacking the net, the opposition net. Thought we did a fast job in the first period and got us our zone time. It got us, second and third opportunities, and we just continued into that second period. Get up 3-1, that quick goal we got at the start of the third. We come out and kind of cement that kind of away. Just the fact that we were in attack mode all game, and stuff happens. I mean, that's obviously, you don't want to see that happen to Gus, but at the end of the day, our two big boys just settled it back down. Once it was over, once those two fights were done, it was done. So don't like all the stuff that happened, but it is what it's hockey. They're pissed off at us where the score was at or their games or whatever. At the end of the day, I just like the fact that we stuck together and did what we have to do. And once those fights were done, it was done. So
I don't know how much into that you want to get, but the things that I noticed, I think, was at 5-1 you put the second PP unit out, and at 6-1 out came the big boys. But that was likely because of what happened in the middle of that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's you read right. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit and talk about what happened in the last 10 minutes of hockey. That's detrimental for the game we played. We played a hell of a hockey game. It's a good hockey game, and that's more of what I'm more concerned about. We just we had lost our last game here. That wasn't a real good outing by us, and like I said, a good team, a good veteran team. The way we come out and played, that's what I'm proud of. That's what I got out of that hockey game.
Talk building calluses and looking at that game, just the resilience from your group, the way Stanley and Lowry stood up for players, but there was fire. You were fired up, and everyone was upset with how it happened. How much do you think that could be kind of a launching pad to things in the future?
Well, there's a lot of things that look at that game. Like I said earlier, the attack mentality of our 5-on-5 game, the attack mentality of our power play, the playing against a heavy team and playing it the right way, sticking up for each other. Those are all glue things that happen. Those are all, like you said, the things that you build towards the future. you know what? It's just I'm proud of the guys that, you know, in all circumstances of that hockey game, I thought we handled it extremely well.
Adam in particular there, you know, he mentioned to us that his teammates were saying not to fight, but he kind of did it anyways. You could see from that moment that, you know, Adam, talking to the officials, he was upset, but it was one of those moments of Adam Lowry's leadership we've seen many times. What did you think, though, about your captain's response to that situation?
He's done that, and in the last 2.5 years I've been here, he's done that every game, in different situations, not just fighting, but just some presence, how he leads and how he goes about things. That's why he's wearing the C on his jersey.
That's not what had you so upset, though, right, that he went? What had you so upset? Didn't match up?
Nope. Something else happened that don't need to get into it. Yeah.
Okay.
No, he's stitched up there. The concuss, I don't know that part yet. Sorry, he's got a nasty cut that's getting sewn up. So
it seemed about 10 minutes into that game, you guys kind of locked up the neutrals. They really didn't get that much of a sniff. They had to kind of dump everything in after that, weren't getting in with possession. What did you see your team kind of lock into at that point that changed things?
Yeah, they're one of the top teams we've seen a few of these teams. They're one of the top teams in forechecking and getting chances off their forecheck. That was kind of something that we had talked about, that if it was going to happen, they were going to get pucks in. We were going to have numbers over top of them, that we were running interference, that we were in time for defense. And, you know, we had video of some of those situations in their last few games, and I thought we did a great job of buying time for our D getting back quick. You know, our first passes, first and second pass, because it took 5 guys to get out of our zone. I thought we did a great job of getting out of our end of the rink and kind of help, you know, neutral zone helps us to do that.
What did you see from Chippy?
He's fun to watch. He is. He's a ball of energy. You can just see him. He's always on the go. Made a nice play on the power play goal, held onto it. Nice to see that shot there at the end. But he's just he's a fiery kid that just he's his engine gets running, and I'm glad he got out and got a chance, and you know, be in a game like that. Thanks. Yep. Thanks.
Short but sweet, the Winnipeg Jets head coach Scott Arniel, also known as Webcam Utility version 1.1.10 moving forward here.
Well, Brent F is pointing out that we need version 1.11 to get the video.
Obviously some technical difficulties, but you got to hear the audio from the Winnipeg Jets head coach Scott Arniel speaking after tonight's game.
A great comment from Joe from Winnipeg, by the way.
Yeah, this is a live shot of the Bruins dressing room, dark and moody. That's very funny. We know why Scott Arniel was upset. He was upset because Trent Frederick has something like 43 fights in his career, and David Gustafson before tonight had all of 0 fights in his NHL career. So I
suspect after tonight he'll have 0 fights
moving forward. I mean,
yes,
not a fighter, not the role that you expect him in. You know, it's one thing to fight, which happened. And that's okay. When Frederick hit him twice when Gustafson was already on the ice, that was bullshit. Pardon my French, folks. That was disrespectful to a guy who doesn't fight, and that's certainly why Scott Arniel, or one of the reasons why Scott Arniel was upset about that. That's why one of the reasons why Logan Stanley got into it there, and also, you know, what Adam Lowry and Nikita Zadorov did there is they calmed the waters. They just said, okay, we're both veteran guys who've been through these battles. We know what's fair. We know what's right.
Big boy fight. That was like a super heavyweight fight.
Right. But that also just calmed it all down.
Yes.
That basically just said, okay, this is done now. We had the fight. You know, we're just going to wrap up this game without there being any more goofiness. You know, I got to believe that Zadorov doesn't like what Frederick did either. I mean, there's a code. And once Gustafson's on the ice, which only took 1 punch, you know, it's not like, you know, Frederick didn't get a good punch in to put Gustafson on the ice. He did. He got that good punch in. But then he hit him a second and a third time. And that, exactly, I promise you, does not sit well with a lot of the players, both obviously in the Winnipeg Jets dressing room, but a lot of the players in the Bruins dressing room and a lot of players around the league who will see that. Those second and third punches there are egregious, and they're unnecessary, and they shouldn't have happened. Trent Frederick has to have more respect for his opponent than he did in that instance. And that's why I think so many people were upset about that. So, you know, Joe Sacco can play dumb all he wants, but Joe Sacco played in this league for a lot of years, and he also knows that shouldn't have happened, and that was bullshit from the Bruins winger at that point in time.
You nailed it, Drew. It's one thing to target Gustafsson, a player who clearly doesn't fight. Like these players, and Dave nailed it, like too. These players know which guys are fight on a team. I mean, everyone knows Adam Lowry can drop the gloves with the best of them. Everybody knows that. Or a guy like Logan Stanley. Players build reputations. David Gustafsson is not known as a fighter, but you nailed it in terms of it's those extra shots. And also, like, let's be honest here, Charlie McAvoy was running around. That was a high hit on Cole Perfetti.
Yes.
There was the hit by Zadorov on Scheifele after the Connor goal, which I thought was late. Drew and I were talking about it right before we went live. And I think
it was late, but it was borderline. I mean, I thought it was
sure.
Zadorov's a guy who plays with an edge.
Yep.
I mean, that's why the Bruins just signed him to that 5 or that 6-year contract and are paying him $5 million a year. He's a tone setter on the back end for the Boston Bruins. Big guy, physical, tough, edgy. He's right on that edge. So, Zadorov, that's in keeping with what the Bruins paid for.
You're right. He's doing what he's being paid to do, Drew. I just thought that was late on Scheifele. I just thought when you can count 1 second after I just didn't. It's one thing to finish your check. I don't know. I just didn't like it, and that's just my own opinion. And I think you're with me as well, Drew. But I think that this game was getting chippy, and obviously, once the Jets got up 4 or 5 goals, then it's on, right? Because the Bruins are being embarrassed on the road, and let's make no mistake about it. This is an embarrassing loss for the Bruins. And Dave mentioned it earlier. They were coming in with all types of momentum, even though. Momentum, as we always talk about in the playoffs, doesn't necessarily carry over from game to game, but maybe momentum is the wrong word. They were playing well. They'd been playing well since Joe Sacco took over as head coach, and they were getting embarrassed, and they started to lose their cool. And after that, it was on. So I obviously love the response. Sorry, go ahead.
Notice the players on the Bruins who were losing their cool. It wasn't Brad Marchand. It wasn't, not that you would expect David Pastrnak to be a guy who would lose his cool. It wasn't the best players of the Bruins who were losing their cool, which I think says a lot about the attitude. The Bruins' best players, I think, recognized that they were just getting their asses kicked and were prepared to just leave the ice and say, tip your hat to your opponent, treat him with respect, move on, lose the game. Marchand, who's not a guy who's known to play on the edge, who certainly had to hit more than his share of run-ins, wasn't involved in any of those. Because I think he knows that we lost the fight. Why are we we lost the war, what really matters, the game. Why are we going to bother with this bullshit rinky-dink nonsense? And that's why I don't think he was involved in it. Whereas the guys who are involved in it are rinky-dink guys who can't ultimately win a game or contribute immensely to the performance of the Bruins on the ice.
Let's go back, boys, to that first period. The hit on, you mentioned Pastrnak, and then Pastrnak took the penalty on Logan Stanley. That was later in the first period, but Logan Stanley comes in, and I guess, I don't know, guys, if he was thinking it was a charge or if it was a hit to the head, because to me, that Stanley's hit on Pastrnak on the boards was a clean hockey hit. There's nothing wrong with that. And you're absolutely right. They were getting frustrated because they were getting pushed around a little bit by the Jets. They're a big team. Kevin Sawyer talked about it on the broadcast. They've got like 12 or 13 forwards or players taller than 6'2". And I know some people don't like to, talk about the size of players and the impact it can have on the game. But the point is, like, when you've got guys like, Kastelik and Zadorov and Brandon Carlo, these guys just aren't big. They're physical. And the Bruins are an imposing team at times, and the Jets didn't let them, impose their will. And I agree with what Scott Arniel said, that he didn't want to get into it because, we talk about the power play. The power play obviously was a big story for the Jets tonight with 3 goals, but 5 goals at even strength. None of those goals were with an empty net. That's the biggest thing to me. And the biggest thing as well in this game is the Scheifele line scored 3 goals at 5-on-5 against the Pastrnak Geeky Zaka line. So that the 2 top lines went head to head, and the Jets top line dominated.
I agree with you. I thought that the Jets just handed it to the Boston Bruins in tonight's game. They just took them and said, we are better than you. And I think Boston was embarrassed by that. And this is largely how they responded, how some of their bottom of the roster, middle of the roster guys responded, Dave, not their top guys. And the Jets, I think, will gladly point to the scoreboard and say 8-1, top of the league, most wins. Thank you very much. Welcome to Winnipeg. Nobody tries to bully us in our barn.
Yeah, I mean, look, until the last 2 games, the Jets were dominant in Winnipeg. I mean, that's just the reality, right? They didn't lose very many games. First of all, thank you to T. Konopoli for the donation. You guys were engaged in a battle yourselves for the mic. So I was trying to get T. Kona's comment. Thanks, as he puts it back up there. T. Kona says nobody's
up there.
Okay, fine. Nobody's afraid of Stan, and Lowry's better fight days are behind him. McAvoy's liberties on the Rooks. This continues as no NHL team fears the Jets. They need an enforcer. No surprise where he's going with this one. Free Tyrell Bauer or make a move.
Kona's, I think, a little biased in this one. I'm pretty sure that nobody comes after tonight. Nobody's coming in and they're seeing how Adam Lowry responded, even how Logan Stanley responded, standing up for their teammate.
Absolutely. There's no question. And by the way, big shout out to Blazing Chicken Shack. I see there in the chat. We want to thank them. Eric, we met him. He's the owner. They're on Graham. Yeah, Drew's got the pamphlet right there. I'm going to give them a shout out. For the record, Jets and Moose fans on game days, 10% off if you bring your ticket to Blazing Chicken Shack. And I can tell you, I'm going to let Drew and Ezzy attest because they sampled it. Eric was nice enough to bring us some lunch after this afternoon special edition
Delicious.
show.
It was really good. It was Eric brought us a couple of burgers. It was a waffle chicken sandwich. Delicious.
You know how good it was? I took a bite out of it and I'm chewing. I'm loving this. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. And then I'm like, what is that? And I thought it was something. How hungry and how good it was. I ate the toothpick. That's how good it was. I even ate the toothpick.
True, it's funny. I forgot to take the toothpick out too.
Really?
There you go.
Well, anyways, big thanks to Eric. We appreciated him coming down and saying hello and introducing himself and letting the boys sample some Blazing Chicken Shack. So if you do go, check it out on Graham, right near the arena, and you can try it yourself.
Yeah, there you go. Big thank you. Nice to see Eric in the chat as well.
Hopefully he's subscribed on, but Eric, just make sure subscribing, smash that like button. Those are expectations when you're here on the Illegal Curve post-game show or the hockey show.
Well, we're almost 30 minutes into this, and there's 8 goals to go through, so I think it's probably time. Yeah, I guess 9 if you include the Bruins goal. Yeah, it's time to get real deep into it on the post-game show.
The Play Now game recap.
Big thanks to our friends at Play Now. They're the title sponsor of the Illegal Curve post-game show and the Illegal Curve hockey show Saturday mornings. Sign up for Play Now and get a casino welcome bonus up to $150. Play Now is Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site and the official betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets. Conditions apply. 18 plus. Enjoy responsibly. Big thanks to our friends at Play Now. We talked about it this morning. We talked about the Jets needed to get the special teams going. They needed to get off to an early start and a good start, and that's exactly what happened. The Jets opened the scoring. They did get a power play 25 seconds into the game. Trent Frederick, who's now public enemy number 1 here in Winnipeg, he takes an interference penalty 25 seconds into the game. No dice for the Winnipeg Jets on that one. But then about 10 minutes later, Brandon Carlo takes a double minor for high sticking, and now the Jets go back onto the power play, and Vlad Nemesnikov, with 21 seconds to go in the first of the minors, his 7th of the year, assists to Nino Niederreiter and Neil Pionk, and it's a blast from the point by Pionk, and it ricochets off the end boards, and then there's a bit of a goal-mouth scramble. But the Jets are where they weren't against the Columbus Blue Jackets on Sunday, which is the hard to get to areas, the greasy areas, the goal zone, and that's in front of the net. It's almost Niederreiter's goal, but it hits the post, and Vlad Nemesnikov is there to tap it in. His first in, I believe, did they say 7 games or 10 games? I can't remember which one.
It was 10.
It was 10. So obviously he wanted to get off the schneid, and he does, to give the Jets the 1-0 lead at the 12:09 mark of the first period, Ezzy.
There's a lot you like to see here. Obviously, guys, when there's a double minor, you always want to score. It's similar to a 5-on-3, right? And you mentioned, the Jets get the early power play, 25 seconds. And I remember Josh Morrissey had a point shot, but obviously, they weren't able to capitalize. Obviously, they were here, and then they were able to have a full 2 minutes left in the Brandon Carlo minor, right? And you love that Nikita Chiibrikov picks up his first assist of the season. And you just love, as Drew talked about, I like you calling it the goal zone, kind of like the red zone in football, right? I like how you called it that, Drew. But obviously, Nino Niederreiter, as Drew mentioned, the shot misses in the net. Then it takes a fortuitous bounce off of Niederreiter. But Vlad Nemestikov was to the right of Jeremy Swayman, just parked there, right? Just like saying, like, someone get me the puck. And obviously, when you put yourself in that position, and there's a crazy rebound off the boards, you're going to be in a good position to score. So, you love the puck movement between Chiibrikov and Neil Pionk at the point. And obviously the Jets are just set up nicely there. So that's what you like to see. And you like to see it could obviously kill a lot of momentum, guys, if you're not able to score in a situation like that, right? So obviously, the Jets scored 7 more goals after this. So it's not like, that goal was the big goal of the game. But obviously at that point in the game, Brandon Carlo takes a completely, just it was just an ill-timed, ill-advised high sticking penalty on Kyle Connor. And also, Trent Frederick, he set the tone for the game with taking a stupid interference penalty on Chiibrikov. Right. So, I mean, again, this is as good of a start that you could really ask for, right, guys? Causing the Bruins to take penalties and then capitalizing on a double minor.
That's exactly right. I mean, the Jets, that's what you wanted to see from the Jets. It's what Scott Arniel spoke about, Dave, north-south to their game, getting to the greasy areas. I mean, it's not pretty. It got prettier as the game went on, and some of the goals got a little bit more highlight reel, but you knew that they wanted to set the tone by just being aggressive and being tougher than the Bruins and being more determined than the Bruins. And especially when you're 5-on-4, it shouldn't be that difficult to get to those difficult areas. They were able to do so, and as a result, they get rewarded with the first goal of the game.
Yeah, and Drew, one of the things we talked about this Boston team was that their special teams haven't been particularly good, right? 32nd ranked penalty kill, and their power play was I think 20th. So, or maybe it was opposite. Sorry, 36. Boy, I'm really on today, huh, boys? But
what was the goal differential again? Remind me.
-12. Well, before tonight, now -19. But no, I mean, look, this is exactly how, from a Jets perspective, you wanted to get things going, because you needed to work on both, really. And against a team like Boston, gives you an opportunity to really kind of get that good feeling, because, like I said, despite the fact they'd been winning under Joe Sacco, their special teams hadn't improved in any significant degree, clearly. And I mean, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I do like how Jets fans were chanting at Swayman, third stringer. So very I saw that.
Were they? I was thinking they might pull something out, Dave. I didn't hear it on the broadcast.
I couldn't either, but I saw John Liu tweet it, so I thought that was kind of funny.
He's been, I mean, and Swayman's lucky he's the third stringer, because truthfully, if Thatcher Demko was the least bit healthy, Swayman would not be on this team, given how bad he's been this year for the Boston Bruins. And this certainly isn't going to help his numbers, giving up 8 goals against in tonight's contest. His save percentage was sub 900 entering the game. It's going to be even worse after tonight's result. 1-0 for the Jets at this point in time. And they make it 2-0 6 minutes later, a little less than 6 minutes later, the 18:01 mark. So in the final 2 minutes of the first period. And goals like this are just so demoralizing for opponents, and they're so important for teams to get, especially late in periods. And it's Mark Scheifele getting his 15th of the year on this one. Assist to Kyle Connor and assist to Gabe Vilardi, and that line was absolutely dominant in the course of tonight's game. And this was just an absolutely beautiful pass by Kyle Connor. And maybe just a free piece of advice to the Boston Bruins and other teams all throughout the NHL. Maybe just don't leave Mark Scheifele this wide open in front of your goalie. I mean, he is so unmolested by both Andrew Peeke and Mason Lowry. They're the third pair defense for the Bruins here, and they just both ignore Scheifele altogether. A beautiful saucer pass from Kyle Connor, puts it right on Scheifele's stick, who just wires it past Swayman. I'm pretty sure he hit Don Sweeney with the puck as well, and made it 2-0, Dave, for the Winnipeg Jets at that point in time.
Yeah, no, there's no question about that. And really nice, even though he doesn't get an assist on it, you got to give credit to Ville Heinola because he does a very deceptive kind of head positioning in the Jets' end, and he looks like he's going across, and instead he goes right up to, I think, to Gabriel Velarde. And so that, again, you don't get, it's one of those plays, right? You don't get credited with a point on it, Ezzy, but it's kind of imperative for kind of starting your team off on the right foot. And that's one thing about Ville Heinola. People want to malign him. He can make a hell of a good first pass. So that was a real nice pass to kind of get the guys going. And to me, the being a hound, a little bit of a puck hound, I thought that's what we saw from this team a little bit more throughout the course of tonight's hockey game. And in this instance, another example of Gabriel Velarde loses it, gets it back, chips it over to Kyle Connor. And, Drew, you already described the goal, so I don't really need to go over it again, other than sublime passing from Kyle Connor. That is the benefit. It's the reason why I think, as much as folks want Scheifele, Connor, and Velarde to have been broken up and see Ehlers with them in some capacity, I think it's why Scott Arniel trusts that line, because they know each other so well. And just from that perspective, it's just automatic. And that when he gets Scheifele that puck, Ezzy, that's ending up in the back of the net.
Drew might have described the goal. I'm going to describe the goal again. This was one of the nicest goals you're going to see from the Jets. And you're right, Dave. I mean, like, Scheifele and Connor have been doing this for years. And I think, Dave, you're right to mention that Velarde loses the puck to Pasternak, but then he takes it away from Lohrei. Yeah. So, like, it's the little things, right? Like, it's the game within the game. Those are the types of things, like, yes, I mean, this goal, everyone's going to remember the saucer pass, the beauty sauce from Kyle Connor to Mark Scheifele. And I'll give Dave M credit because he's been saying this for years, going back to the TSN 1290 radio days. Kyle Connor, everybody talks about him for how good of a goal scorer he is. Let's maybe start talking about him a little bit more as far as how good of a passer he is, right? And that just shows you, like, when you're even Steven, right, Dave? When you've got as many goals and as many assists, and he scores a lot of goals, that shows you how well-rounded of a player he is. And I loved Kyle Connor on both sides of the puck tonight. But on this particular goal, you've got Lohrei and you've got the Bruins' third pair out there, Peak and Mason Lohrei. And the thing that I love the most is that, I've got it frozen here. Mark Scheifele is kind of at the top of the circle, and Kyle Connor and Drew's right. I mean, they had to pay more attention to Mark Scheifele here, but you just love the fact that Kyle Connor's got the puck close to the goal line. He just waits, sees Scheifele come up, and then he it's a thing of beauty. It's an absolute thing of beauty. I'm sorry if I'm getting a little bit too excited, but that sauce pass, they should just be showing that to young hockey players across North America, because that was just a thing of beauty, in my opinion.
I think you made a good point, though, Dave, that the Jets, when they're at their best, are.
What about me, Drew? I just talked for a minute about the goal.
There was one specific point that Dave made before that I wanted to highlight and bring forward about when the Jets are at their best. They're hunting pucks, and they're so adept at forcing turnovers with skilled stick work, and you saw that on display throughout tonight's game. And I think you really flustered the Boston Bruins as a result. They weren't able to generate anything out of their zone. The Jets were so adept at being able to hem them in and force turnovers that led to a number of the goals throughout the course of the game.
I want to say one thing, because we got issue boy Bruce, who obviously is an Illegal Curve post-game show chat all-star, and he makes a good point here, right? Because it was pointed out by a lot of people that Scheifele, Connor, Velarde, they I think if you actually look at all the lines across the NHL, that line has played the most minutes together in the entire league. I'd have to check that, but I think they're either first or second in the NHL. And that's a valid point. Scott Arniel keeps that line together, and they responded on the power play, and we talked about it. 3 even strength goals tonight. So I think that's a good point by issue boy Bruce, that line, times get tough, that line usually steps up for the Jets.
Yeah, they certainly did tonight, having a dominant performance all around. 2-0 after 20 minutes for the Winnipeg Jets. They make it 3-0 at the 7:02 mark. And sort of the context of this goal is important, as Nino Niederreiter takes a slashing penalty at the 4:49 mark of the second period. And then David Pasternak takes a high sticking penalty about 50 seconds later to nullify the Jets power, nullify the Bruins power play. And Pasternak is rightfully upset. The refs, missed it. It was actually Logan Stanley's own stick that caught Stanley up high. The refs thought it was Pasternak's. Nonetheless, that nullifies the situation. It gets to be some 4-on-4 hockey. And then on a bit of a broken play just after the penalty to Niederreiter has expired and it becomes a Jets power play, it's Josh Morrissey finding Mark Scheifele, and Scheifele again makes no mistake with this shot, absolutely wiring it past Jeremy Swayman. Just a great pass from Morrissey. The Bruins running around a little bit, like I said, broken play. Scheifele's the one who carries it into the Bruins zone. It looks like it's going to get broken up by Pavel Zacha and ends up back on Morrissey's stick, and he finds Mark Scheifele, who finds his own, gets into the soft spot again to make it 3-0 for the Winnipeg Jets. And you can almost feel at this point in time that things are going well for the hometown team, Ezzy.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if we're going to give the secret shot of the game for this one because we might have to reserve it. I think I know who you're going to give it to. I have an idea. I'm not going to give it away, but I think that on this particular goal, you just see the absolute brilliant vision of Josh Morrissey. That's what stands out to me on this goal. Obviously, Scheifele has a nice clean zone entry. He starts it all off, but Josh Morrissey again on the power play has his head up, and he kind of fools, I think, everyone into thinking that he might be a shot option here. And he sees that Mark Scheifele is completely wide open. And again, it's just a perfect pass. And Dave mentioned it earlier. We've become so used to seeing this type of play. Like, we're spoiled here, guys, in this market, in this city, in this province, seeing these guys. But Josh Morrissey, puts it exactly where that puck needs to be on his stick. And they make no mistake about it. And obviously, Drew's right. I mean, at that point, you've got a 3-0 lead, and it's completely on. But the power play, it's been criticized recently, by us included, and it comes through big tonight again.
Yeah, exactly right. So 3-0 at that point in time. The Bruins get on the board 2 minutes and 11 seconds later. This was sort of the time of the game where I thought the Jets had their lull. Sort of right after the Scheifele goal made it 3-0. I thought the Bruins maybe got some momentum. Neil Pionk takes a slashing penalty after the Bruins gain the zone, and they're beginning to have a little bit of jump to their step. And David Pasternak with Pionk in the box gets his 10th of the year. Assist to McAvoy, assist to Marchand. Marchand I thought was pretty quiet by and large in tonight's game. Maybe this little stretch of action is where the Bruins had a little bit of
well, it was his drive through the slot
that
caused Pionk to take that penalty, right? So
that's right.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Marchand was at the very least he was creating stuff out there. So was Pasternak, but there weren't too many guys on the Bruins that were noticeable tonight. And that's been an issue. We talked about it, whether it's Pavel Zacha, whether it's Charlie Coyle, Charlie McAvoy's having a down year. Pasternak's having a down year, guys.
He's only got 10 goals.
Let's not forget 2 years ago, he had 61, right? So he's way off the pace, but you're absolutely right. I mean, I think he missed the net. They were obviously clearly going for Pasternak. He missed the net, but this is just an absolute bullet. Hellebuyck had no chance.
He missed the net on the first attempt, Dave, and on this attempt, I mean, this is a shot of a guy who can score 60+ goals in this league.
Yeah, it's amazing because it wasn't so fast that when you watch it, you're like, okay, DeMello can get there and get out and do something, because it, again, like I said, it's not lightning quick. But the shot is on and off so fast that you're right. You just have to credit Pasternak. And it was funny because one of the comments that Adam Lowry or one of the talking points, I should say, in the morning media availability was Adam Lowry talking about how he goes, I love watching him play, but I'd rather do it against other teams because he knows what a tough, how difficult it is. And one of the areas of concern, which remains an area of concern for the Jets, is this PK. There's just no question. The PK has to be better. And I understand without Dylan Sandberg, you're asking other guys to step up in his absence. But again, like I said, this is you're not going against the strongest power play, right, Ezzy? Right. So that's one of those situations where the Jets need to really work on that element of their special teams because it's an area that's failing them a little bit. And like I said, it's a 3-1 game at that point. It doesn't get out of control because the rest of their game is doing well. But I just think that they just need to be a little bit more They just have to figure out something that's working a little bit better because, like I said, they don't need a top 5 PK in the NHL to win a Stanley Cup, but they probably want to be in the 8 to 12 range at least, and that's not where they are right now.
Yeah, agreed with you on that front. 3-1 for the Winnipeg Jets, 3-1 after 40 minutes. And then the fun part of the game, the third, I mean, the first 2 periods were fun, but the real fun part, the final 20 minutes, the third period starts very, very early. 1:15 in, it's Kyle Connor. He gets his 16th of the year, assist to Mark Scheifele, and 4-1 back very quickly, very early means good things are happening for the Winnipeg Jets on this one. It's again, very effective play for the Winnipeg Jets. They force a turnover, and then it's just Scheifele does a great job keeping it in. Then he wins the puck battle, and then you talked about it earlier. You don't like the hit from Zadorov on Scheifele, but he takes the hit to make the play, and Connor wires it past Jeremy Swayman to make it 4-1. I don't even know if this is. I think this is Ezzy's turn at this point.
Sure, and obviously, this is just a vintage Scheifele and Connor again, knowing where each other are on the ice, finding each other, making really efficient passes. I have nothing wrong with players finishing their checks. I just thought it was he's driving Scheifele into the boards there late, and clearly it has nothing to do with the play. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not saying that Zadorov should be suspended. I'm not saying anything like that. I just thought it was kind of a bit of a cheap hit, a late hit. I'll just leave it at that. Maybe we can see if people in the chat agree with me or don't agree with me. But the point is, they score a goal here, and as you mentioned, Drew, it's Brad Marchand right at the blue
Marchand's
line.
just a very soft play by Brad Marchand.
Yeah, and I forget who he's trying to get the puck to. It might have been Brazo. Brazo is a big boy, by the way. We talked about Brazo on the pregame show. 6'6", well over 200 pounds. He's a good player, having a good season. Anyways, you like to see those undrafted players having good years, right, Dave? So yeah, it's Marchand and Brazo just miscommunication, just not a strong play at their own blue line. And again, Scheifele jumps on the puck and he creates that's what you like to see, guys, right? Like you always hear about having a good forecheck, closing those gaps, creating turnovers. That's when the Jets are at their best, when they're creating the turnovers, not causing the turnovers, and then goals are being scored on them. So you love the fact that Scheifele steals the puck here, and it's just a beautiful pass to Kyle Connor. It's simply as that. These are just beautiful goals to see. And again, the hits late. No call in the play. Who cares? The refs decided not to call that, but just a beautiful goal. And again, the Bruins, Pasternak made it 3-1, so that goal allowed them to come back in the game. What do the Jets do? 75 seconds into the third period, they make sure that this game is over, because at that point, I mean, it's very unlikely the Bruins are going to score 3 goals on Hellebuck in one period.
What's important from my perspective here, Dave, is that Scheifele has to put himself into the position to capitalize on the turnover.
Yeah.
He's where he needs to be on the ice after losing the faceoff in order to get there and take advantage of Marchand and his soft play, trying to get it over to Scheifele's fellow number 55, Justin Brazeau. They're both 55, but Scheifele has to put himself in the position to take advantage of the mistake.
No, there's no question about it. And speaking of mistake, I think Kyle Connor, every time he scores against Boston, he says, well, you passed on me 3 times back in 2015. I'm going to show you guys what you're missing. And he sure does. And you're right, Drew, that this is, like I said, this was a team that was a team that wanted to make a statement. They really did. And again, it's one win in December. You're not like planning the parade because of it. But I just think that
I am.
Well, as he is, but as he plans the parade, as he loves parades,
I like daily parades.
Yeah, he goes. He loves a good parade. So
I just think James is known as the parade part of the city, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
It is. It's the parade capital of Winnipeg. But
do you guys remember the magazine Hit Parader back in the day? I used to love reading about Nirvana and Pearl Jam in the magazine Hit Parader.
Are you going to Nelly?
Do you have any idea what I'm talking about right now?
I do. I remember it as a mag. Are you going to Nelly though?
I didn't know Nelly was. You want to go?
No, I mean I don't want to go with you, but
I didn't know Nelly was coming. But the thing is Kelly Rowland going to be there so they can do their song together?
Apparently, there might be some sort of special guest. I'm not sure. It's on Good Friday. It's in April. Nelly. Who else was it? There was it. Ja Rule? Is he coming with Nelly
Ja
as
Rule.
well?
No, I think Ja Rule's actually trying to bring Fire Festival back.
Okay. Well, there was Nelly. I can't remember exactly who else. Hang on, I got it on my phone here. I'll look it up while you guys are talking about the goal.
I didn't know Nelly. Now I might have to go. I might have to put my Air Force Ones on and go.
Yeah.
Ja Rule and Chingy?
Ja Rule, Nelly, and Chingy, and Jermaine Dupree. I'm pretty sure I saw Chingy already this summer, if I'm not mistaken, at Tacos and Tequila.
That's a lot of big names there. I might have to buy some tickets for that one.
I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Do you remember, Drew? Do you know what the group that Nelly performs with is called, though?
No, of course I have no clue whatsoever.
The St. Lunatics. They're from St. Louis.
Well, I knew he's from St. Louis.
Snack who says if you need a ride, you can ride with him.
Well, there you go. Thank you.
Ride with me, I should say.
Snooka, not Snacku.
It doesn't matter. Look, I'm not going to get. As far as I'm concerned, that's Luke right there, or Luck.
Luke, Luck. Yeah.
Lucky Luke.
4-1 at this point in time for the Winnipeg Jets. They make it 5-1. 4 minutes and 18 seconds later, Gabe Vilardi, his 12th of the year, assist to Kyle Connor. He only needs half a stick sometimes. That's how hard his shot is. So hard, in fact, it's the shot of the
Seagram shot of the game.
See, I didn't forget tonight. Big thanks to our friends at Seagram's for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Seagram's 83 is Manitoba's favorite Canadian whiskey. I do recommend it as well. So big thanks to Seagram's and big congratulations to Gabe Vilardi for getting the extreme honor that is the Seagram shot of the game. This one made it 5-1 for the Winnipeg Jets. And you know what? We were talking about it all day. Sometimes don't be too cute. Don't overpass. Don't overthink. Just take a shot. And when you have a shot as good as Gabe Vilardi does, and it starts with a turnover in the Jets zone. What you love is Kyle Connor just comes in. He starts the play at the hash marks for the Winnipeg Jets. At the defensive hash marks is where he intercepts the pass, takes it up the ice, drops it to Vilardi in the C's part, and then Vilardi just absolutely wires the pass Jeremy Swayman to make it 5-1 for the Jets, Dave.
Yeah, and the thing you like is that Kyle Connor drove to the front of the net, so he occupies the defenseman, and he doesn't allow, he doesn't play it soft. He plays it to where he should, which is to take away the man and keep Vilardi free and give him some space. And Vilardi's shot Swayman did not have a good game, and we'll get into some of the other goals that he let in. And Drew, you already alluded to it.
The Mason Appleton goal.
Yeah, it was atrocious.
It was
ridiculous. But the point is that, that Vilardi, it's a great shot. He goes far side, of course, and finds the back of the net. But it's another example of everyone having a piece of this win. Right. And like I said, some guys got it because they stepped up, and I'm sure Drew will read the comments about David Gustafson after the break.
After the break, I will, yes.
But to me, this is just another, you can see every guy is happy. Everybody's got a piece of this, Scheifele scoring, Connor scoring, Vilardi scoring. The second line got goals. The third line got goals. The fourth line, well, technically not a goal, but fourth line goal because it's on the power play. But every guy had a piece of that, right, Ezzy? And so this is just another example of Gabriel Vilardi. How many goals is that? Does he have goals in 3 straight games now or something like that? Or maybe 3 out of the last 4?
Did he score against Columbus for the
I don't
Jets?
think he scored against. Who scored? No, he didn't score against Columbus, did he?
I thought it was. I thought Connor scored.
Connor
scored the power play.
Connor got the power play goal, so he's got 3 of his last 4, maybe. But the point is that he's contributing, and that's we talked about this. The top line wasn't necessarily getting it done. Well, that's a big game for them all to break out and for them all to have a piece of that.
Yeah, certainly was. And
play the Macarena.
Play the Macarena, and the route is on 5-1 for the Winnipeg Jets. Then it becomes 6-1. It's a power play goal. Is this all after the no, this is just before the nonsense begins in the third period. It's Alex Iafallo at the 7:19 mark of the third period. This is with Charlie McAvoy in the box for the high hit on Cole Perfetti. And the hit I do not like. Hit I think nobody liked, especially the Winnipeg Jets bench. It seems like Perfetti is okay, but of course with hits to the head, sometimes it does take a little bit of time to manifest, but you hope that he is okay. it's so with McAvoy in the box, the Jets have Alex Iafallo with a beautiful tip of a Neil Pionk shot. Nikita Chiibrikov getting his first career NHL assist. He already has the goal, of course, from the first game he played last year. And we'll mention him again coming up here on the post-game show. Just a beautiful tip by Alex Iafallo and a great shot by Neil Pionk. And you like the play by Chiibrikov as well to get it over to Pionk. And it becomes 6-1 just before the silly season portion of the game begins, Ezzy.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, Drew. The game's already over at 5-1, and then they add this goal, and it's just insult to injury, right? And again, you love the puck movement. You love the fact that you had the Bruins chasing. And originally, I don't know about you guys, but I thought Niederreiter might have tipped it originally because you obviously had some good layers in front of Swayman. But again, like it's that shot first mentality, like. The Jets, what did they have? 14 shots against LA in that road game. Like, obviously, the Kings are a shot suppression team. They're a good defensive team, but the Jets piled it on tonight.
35 for a team that hasn't been able to get 30 shots in a game very consistently during their struggles. 35 or 8 goals on 35 shots is a pretty good percentage.
Absolutely. And I love the fact that the Jets kept scoring goals. Like, I'm a big believer. I don't care what team you are, what league you're playing. You keep playing till the game's over. So I have no problem
after the opponents try and take some liberties. Now you have an opportunity where you're going to say, okay, great. So you punched one of our guys. We don't like that. So here's how we're going to take our revenge out on you: is we're going to score 2 more goals after that, and really poke you in the chest and say, who the hell do you think you're kidding?
Exactly, boys. Sorry, Dave. I'll let you get in here, but we've been covering this team since they came back. We've been doing. We've done a lot of games and watched a lot of games. There's a big difference between 5-1 and 8-1, and that's that was embarrassing to the Bruins, and they deserved it. You just said it and nailed it. You take some liberties, and that should have been a penalty on McAvoy and Perfetti. Absolutely.
And the only thing I was going to add, and Scott Arniel talked about it, he didn't start his first power play unit again on that power play, right, boys? He started the second power play unit. They scored.
Yeah. But I wonder if he didn't start the first unit because it was Perfetti who just got hit in the head.
Yeah, but you can always replace Cole Perfetti. If you're really, you can always replace him. You can always, if you really, again, if you needed to, you can say that. I understand.
If you really want to step on them, beforehand.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, if you wanted to stick it to him a little bit, you could just throw someone else up there for Perfetti. I mean, I'm just saying that to me, they weren't trying to pour it on them. They were up 5-1. They put the second power play unit on. As we've talked about, their PK isn't particularly good. So you give yourself a chance to add to your lead. You do. And it's not your fault. But we saw what he did later on when he had a chance on the power play. He put his first unit up.
It's funny. So, we talked about the fights already. We don't need to get into them anymore. But my buddy Bobby texted, big fan of the show. I was talking with him after.
Yeah, we saw Bobby this afternoon.
He was down at City Place with us this afternoon.
You're talking about Bobby the Brain Heenan, right?
Yeah, Bobby the Brain. Bobby the Brain Heenan, unfortunately, has passed away. This is Bobby the Brain. I don't know if he wants his last name used, so it's a different story.
Yeah, you might want to be easy there, buddy.
Yeah, but what he messaged me and he said he thought that after Zadorov and Lowry fought, which was a totally legitimate fight between 2 respected veterans, he thought that he could read Zadorov's lips, and who said something along the lines of, I hope that Gustafsson is okay, or I hope the kid is okay after he took the fight from Trent Frederick. So
that's a good point by Bobby, because obviously that was a staged fight, and you don't see that very often anymore, right, guys?
It was like a staged fight to calm things down, though.
Exactly, and I think you nailed it again, Drew. I hate to keep giving you credit here. How I don't like to give you credit, but you're absolutely right. I mean, it could have gotten out of control. You could have seen more cheap shots. But Lowry said, look, I'm the guy that fights here. Lowry is the guy, and Zadorov is the guy for the Bruins. You mentioned, Drew, everybody knows he has a reputation for being a guy that can play physically, but he can also drop the gloves. But again, I have no problem with the Jets piling on the goals here. I mean, what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to just pass the puck around and not shoot to score? You know what I mean?
It's not like Mason Appleton was trying to score from behind the net.
No, I mean, that goal, Swayman can't let that goal in. I'm actually a little bit surprised he wasn't pulled at that point.
Well, you know what? I wonder if Joe Sacco is maybe sending a little bit of a message to Swayman saying you need to be better. So you're going to sit there and you're going to eat all these goals. And Appleton gets his sixth of the year, assist to Hayden Fleury and Adam Lowry. I mean, he literally scores from the goal line.
Yeah, you can't allow a goal behind the and it's not like it was a 90-mile-per-hour slapper, or it's not like he banked it off of Swayman's mask or head or anything like that. It was just a complete fluke goal.
Yeah, it was a complete fluke goal, but it's something that Swayman needs to have more professionalism and more pride than letting that goal in. And I know goalies can let bad goals in, and it doesn't mean the sky is falling or anything along those lines. But he needs to figure out a way to be better himself, because his team obviously needs him to be better as well. They're not a very good hockey team. I know that they're third, but the truth is, as we talked about this afternoon, all the underlying metrics of this team say that they're outperforming where they actually should be in the standings, and you saw that almost in action tonight. Appleton scores, and then 10 seconds later, after Cole Perfetti forces a turnover and he gets the assist, Nikita Chiibrikov absolutely wires one past Swayman to wrap up the goal scoring. 8 goals for the Winnipeg Jets, Dave. 8-1 final. Just an absolute butt whooping by the Jets on home ice against the Boston Bruins. A cathartic victory for the hometown team.
Shout out Lucky Luke, who's in the chat, the Winnipeg woodwork designer who made the IC logo that I was rocking in my usual setup, and he's in the chat, and we appreciate that. Got some good stuff, and we appreciate that artistry that he did for me at least. But that's a huge goal for Nikita Chiibrikov. I mean, you could tell. I mean, I know Kevin Sawyer on the broadcast said that he was a little bit nervous, but like I said, I think there's an element of when you're playing the game, and that's his second, of course, NHL game, and it's in a building he's familiar with, of course, playing with the Moose. And so I think he was ready to go. And like I said, it's a role that he's well served to play. That's the thing about Nikita Chiibrikov, right? Like I said, he's got bite to his game. It's a different game than Brad Lambert was being asked. I mean, again, like I said, that's a hard ask for a 21-year-old guy Lambert's still 20. Sorry. Chiibrikov's 21 to play center in the NHL, and not to play center in the NHL on a fourth line role, but to play center at the second line role. So Chiibrikov's responsibilities, Chiibrikov's, expectations are a lot different than Brad Lambert's, but that goal is going to serve him well. He got 2 points in the game, right? So he's doing it all. And you can just see, like I said, it's the thing that is going to give him confidence. It may not keep him in the NHL. He may be back in the AHL when Nikolai Ehlers is back, but it's another piece. One of the foundation things that Scott Arniel spoke about today was he wants to put these prospects in a position to be longtime NHLers and have success. So he's going to give them the tools. He's going to give them that opportunity. And Nikita Chiibrikov is making the most of it. And that's what you want him to do. Look, he may do enough over the course of this 3-4 day audition that he doesn't have to, maybe something else happens. But for right now, my expectation is it's just temporary, but you like what you're seeing from him producing in the way he is.
This game went as good as really you could have asked for, right? Like a goal and an assist in his first game of the season. Mm-hmm. And I just love the fact that let's give Perfetti a lot of credit.
By the way, he draws 2 penties in the course of tonight's game as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, what did I tell you? Sure. He gets under people's skins. People want to engage him because he's annoying. Like Scott Arniel, as he called him, a little ball of something. We didn't know what it was.
Hate. It's true. It's why I want to punch Ezzy all the time. He's just annoying.
I wouldn't say that. That's not very nice, Drew.
I know.
Let's give time out for Drew. Just kidding, Drew.
Now I say love, Ezzy. You know I love you.
No, but I mean,
it's all love. It's all love.
Yeah, but anyways, all I'm going to say is that I just think for a young guy like Chiibrikov to have 2 games in the NHL, to have 2 goals and 1 assist already, it's just going to do so much for his confidence and so much for what the Jets are looking to get. Remember, I mean, you don't know what the Jets team is going to look like next year. He could be playing a big role in that. So if you're going to build,
he absolutely will.
I mean, sure.
Obviously, I don't know that, but
I think this year too.
Well,
based on this performance,
I agree with Drew. Like Chiibrikov, like again,
he's the kind of player the Jets don't have. The Jets don't have a player like him that is sort of got that can match the high end skill with the I'm going to say forcefulness or the irritation aspect. You know who was supposed to be like this and who still might be, but obviously won't be for the Winnipeg Jets.
Marco Dano.
No, Rutger McGroarty.
Yeah.
Think about
Rutger McGroarty doesn't have the same sort of
might not have the same high-end skill necessarily, but he was supposed to be like the constant energy, the guy who's always willing to go the extra mile, go to the areas, always cause a little bit of a ruckus, things of that nature. Chiibrikov certainly was more noticeable. And again, it's not a comparison. It's not an insult to Brad Lambert, but you notice.
Well, it's different. You can't compare a center and a winger. It's just the responsibilities.
They're also not the same style of player.
Not
but your point is well taken though, Drew. Look, Chiibrikov seized the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be honest here. He seized the opportunity, and you love to see it. And I feel like I'm stealing Dave M's thunder because he's been talking about Chiibrikov for years now. But I was really impressed. And Dave's right. When Ehlers comes down, it's possible that he's sent down. Maybe he sticks around. Look, guys, like right now, Rasmus Kupari is your 13th forward. That just shows you how much depth they have right now, right? So
he was.
Well, yeah, exactly. So we'll wait and see what happens once Ehlers gets back into the lineup. But he scores a goal and an assist. And I just wanted to throw one thing in here before we complete the Play Now game recap. Just Perfetti gets the stick on Andrew Peake's clearing attempt. He gets an assist in a kind of non-conventional way. So good on Cole Perfetti just for having, the active stick, as they say, on this particular play. But yeah,
he was more physical in tonight's game than we've seen him a lot from Perfetti for a lot of games. He was roughing it up, and he was, he's never going to be mistaken for a guy who's a big physical player out there. But you saw him more physically engaged than you typically have, and I think that's important for him, and certainly a good sign for him. But not.
Yeah, I would agree with that. He was credited with 2 hits, Drew.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is fine from Cole Perfetti's perspective. Strong on the forecheck, a little bit physical, and a well-deserved assist here on the Chiibrikov goal. That wraps up lengthy Play Now game recap here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. When there's 9 goals scored, the game recaps are definitely going to be lengthy. When we come back on the
you can't see it. Sorry, Drew, you can't see it right now, but my right leg, and this might be because I'm extremely overweight, but my right leg is completely numb right now. It fell asleep.
Alrighty, we'll let Ezzy deal with that. We'll take a commercial break, and then we'll come back with some interesting comments from Adam Lowry about Trent Frederick and his determination as to who to drop the gloves with tonight. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg, Jets win 8-1. The Illegal Curve post-game show rolls on. Smash the like button while we go to commercial break.
We want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime, visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre. Holt Dental, the new official dentist of Illegal Curve, has a philosophy rooted in 2 unyielding principles: genuinely caring about patients and providing outstanding service. Being a patient of Holt Dental means more than just checkups and treatments. It's taking the time to listen and talk to each patient so they can achieve the best long-term health, functionality, and aesthetics for their teeth, mouth, and gums. Conveniently located at Grant Park Festival on Taylor Avenue, Holt Dental is dentistry of the highest quality in a comfortable and relaxed environment. For more information, visit holtdental.ca. Oh, and there's plenty of free parking at the front door, too. Celebrating its 40th year as Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best and most affordable live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For more information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal, starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
Just after 11 o'clock, welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg with you. 8-1, the Winnipeg Jets victorious over the Boston Bruins. We'll get to some interesting post-game quotes. But first, Dave, I know you were busy watching the Jets game. The less said, the better about the Moose game tonight?
I can't even say that I watched a minute of it. The only thing I will do is give everyone an update. I got an update on Elias Salamonson, who left the game on Friday with an upper body injury. I was reliably informed that...
Put on your antlers. It's time for the Minuk Moose Minute on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
I was wondering how long it was going to take him to press the button.
Well, anyways, the 2022 second rounder, the right shot defenseman who, like I said, left in some pretty significant discomfort on Friday night after taking a big hit into the boards. He is, I'm told, only going to be a couple of weeks in recovery, which is actually relatively good considering how bad it looked. And
it looked like a separated shoulder.
Yeah, it looked bad. So I've been told that it's going to be a couple of weeks. So that's pretty good, relatively speaking. What's not so good, the Moose got pumped. Calgary's, every time the Moose played this Devin Cooley, who is a guy from California, as he played for the Milwaukee Admirals in the playoffs, he stonewalled the Moose a few years back. And for the Calgary Wranglers, who are a very good team in the Pacific, he's been very good every time the Moose have played him. So Dan Fink was the play-by-play broadcaster, said it was 4-0 after 40, and the Moose could have had 4 goals, but he was excellent, and they had a goal disallowed. I know that Parker Ford scored for them, but I haven't really. To be honest, I obviously was watching the Jets game, so I'll watch the Moose game after, but I haven't. Can only tell you that it was a 6-1 loss.
But
and
the Sal Monson update you gave is that's good information.
Yeah, that's the most relevant one. So yeah, like I said, so Elias Salamonson, a couple of weeks, just to better to make sure I've got it right. Expected to miss at least a couple of weeks with an upper body injury. So that's the IC. It's where you get it first. Nobody else had it except for Illegal Curve.
There you go. Here's some post-game quotes of interest. We heard from Scott Arniel on the post-game show, and he said, quote, I thought the Winnipeg Jets, he thought we played a hell of a hockey game, and the Jets certainly did. Here's what Adam Lowry had to say about the Trent Frederick-David Gustafsson fight, and I think this speaks a lot to what we've been talking about in the course of tonight's post-game show. Quote, I think for guys that fight, we generally know who on the other team also fights. Gussie, David Gustafsson, real proud of him for not backing down. But I think that's a situation that he shouldn't be put in the first place, to begin with. And so basically Adam Lowry is, if you want to read between the lines here, you don't have to read, you don't have to squint that hard for it. He's saying that Frederick, picked on a guy and should have a more honor and more, and more courtesy than to drop the gloves in that instance with David Gustafsson. That is the proverbial schoolyard bully, attitude from Trent Frederick, and the Jets did not appreciate it. Here's what Mark Scheifele had to say about Logan Stanley and Adam Lowry fighting after the Gustafsson-Frederick fight. Quote, that's what good teams do. We stick together. Good on Stan, Logan Stanley, good on Lows, Adam Lowry to get in there. We stick up for each other. We take care of each other. That's what makes us a good team. Tight-knit dressing room. We've heard that more than once about the Winnipeg Jets, and you certainly saw that on display in the third period after the Bruins, decided to try and beat up one of them. Well, you're going to get everybody instead. as the Jets responded in kind to Trent Frederick's shenanigans. And don't for a second think that Frederick won't have to answer for this in January when the Jets go to Boston to play the Bruins. The Jets will certainly be a motivated bunch.
Careful, careful, Drew, though. The Boston Bruins could call up our old friend Jeffrey Viel, who's, I believe, still with Providence right now. So
they could. I mean, that game is coming up on Thursday, January the 20th in Boston, the Jets and the Bruins, the rematch. And so it'll certainly be one that people will pay a little bit more attention to after what was a heated affair tonight in downtown Winnipeg. An affair won 8-1 by the Winnipeg Jets. One-sided contest on the ice, on the scoreboard, where it really counts as the Winnipeg Jets get back to their winning ways on home ice. It's been a very busy day for us here at Illegal Curve. We did the Illegal Curve, a special edition of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show at 12 noon this afternoon from City Place. That was a ton of fun. Big thanks to City Place, of course, for having us back there. We'll be there again in January the 14th against the Vancouver Canucks. So we will be at it there again in about 1 month's time. Always love our afternoon editions at City Place. Want to say a big thank you to all the sponsors of Illegal Curve who make the post-game show, the Saturday show, and the website a possibility. Play Now, they're the title sponsor of this show. Of course, our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club. Matt Broussard is at Rumors all week long. Get your tickets now, rumorscomedyclub.com. Happy birthday to El Cheverino joining us.
To the Sultan. It's the Sultan's birthday.
The Sultan of Malaysia?
Yeah.
I didn't know
that. There's a birthday holiday for the Sultan of Malaysia. Although, Drew, I also thought it was El Cheverino's birthday, hence the reason I put it up there. And as I read it longer, I was like, it's not actually El Cheverino's birthday. He's just celebrating the Sultan's birthday.
Are you sure that he's not referring to himself as the Sultan?
Fairly certain. I'm gonna go like 95% certain. I think it's the Sultan's birthday.
El Cheverino's got one of the best avatars ever. Of course, the dude.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why I'm a little bit confused.
Well, let's wait till El Cheverino can speak for himself, or herself. But I'm going to go with that. It's the Sultan's birthday holiday. We could also check on a little thing called Google, but
we could. I had no idea that Malaysia had a sultan or sultans.
It's funny, we call you the Sultan of swagger.
Yeah, that's me. That's that's
well,
my alter ego.
The Sultan of sandwiches.
The Sultan of the state of Selangor. I mean, I don't know the politics of Malaysia. We try to avoid politics as much as possible on this show, and I think that's probably a good rule. But if the Sultan of the state of Selangor is a good person, we shall wish him a happy birthday as well. So
he might not even be alive, Drew. It could be. It sounds like it's a holiday, so perhaps it's not necessarily that this person is even alive anymore.
You think that they're celebrating I see what you're saying. That
Drew, your homework tonight is to learn more about the Sultan of Selangor.
I think that might go. Now that I'm in the closing moments of this program, I might go do that with my Google box afterwards. Like I said, Holt Dental, Boston Pizza, and of course our friends at Seagram's support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve.
Boys, I'm particularly excited to go to Malaysia and do our first ever IC in Selangor.
Is the Sultan
problem
inviting us?
They've already preemptively blocked you from ever coming in the country.
Dave, can we use your private jet to fly to Malaysia? Yeah. We know that you're taking it across the Pacific. Does it go all the way to Malaysia?
Considering that you're always flying over the Pacific, Dave, maybe we can just head to Malaysia.
I stop in Hawaii. Sorry, boys.
Okay, well, there you go. Tough life for Dave M, as we all know. Thanks, everyone, for joining us, whether you joined us this afternoon or you joined us now through this nonsense of the last few minutes. We always appreciate your support. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and, of course, tell your friends and tell your family. The best place to be on Saturday mornings, and again after each and every Winnipeg Jets game, such as this coming Thursday, where we are going to be talking about the Jets and the Vegas Golden Knights at 9:40 p.m. Be sure to join us back here on our YouTube channel for that. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. It's been a great day. It's been a great fun. Jets win 8-1 until Thursday night. For Dave Manouk, for Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. We wish you good night and good luck, and thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.